Hello everyone and welcome to this OpenFront IO beginner's tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be covering all the basic mechanics of the game for people who are just starting to play OpenFront and want to know how do I play, what do I do, and most importantly, how do I win and take over the map. So to start, one of the most important things you got to know is there's three types of terrain in OpenFront. There are plains, highlands, and mountains, which are white, orange, and green. And when you're picking a spawn, you often want to go for plains. So to pick a spawn, we're going to start this game. You just click down and you can see yourself highlighted. One of the things you're going to think about in multiplayer is where are other players and also NPCs, which we'll talk about in a second. So the game has started. You just want to zoom in here, and what you're going to want to do is click. Basically, clicking just means you're going to send out an attack, expand a little bit, try to take some of this land. And you're going to be doing it kind of regularly. This is the basic mechanic of OpenFront if you're seeing some of these other videos. With this, the things you're going to want to start thinking about at this part of the game is looking in the bottom left at this slider right here. So this slider is essentially an indicator of your troops to workers ratio. And the difference between troops and workers is the workers, they produce gold. And gold is useful for all the infrastructure that you make in OpenFront. I'm sure many of you have seen the videos of basically launching nukes, building defense posts, all the kind of strategy involved. So in terms of what's the best to do, if you pull this down, it's very quick to go down, but it's not as quick to go up. So you got to think about balance here. The game is still in alpha, so a lot's being developed and being thought through with how this works. So I'm going to keep on clicking, basically picking targets. I'm going to keep this right here just so I get some gold to start thinking about the next stages of the game. Generally, when you're playing, you're not going to want to pause like this and just sit here and be like, what am I doing? You want to keep on expanding and think about being practical here. The next thing you should know is the attack ratio. And if you're just starting, do not go 100%. Do not go 0%. Sticking around 20% is probably fine. Again, the game is an alpha and a lot is changing, but this just means what percentage of your troops are being sent out. I'm not sure at this point in time if there's a cost per attack. Wouldn't surprise me if there is, but choosing something that's not crazy like 100%, because you could just get attacked and get wrecked, and maybe not 1% because you're not going to do anything. So I'm going to stick it at 30 for right now. This is by no means like the standard, but you're just going to want to have it at something kind of rational, not crazy. So I'm going to keep on clicking on bots, basically just moving out and attacking all of these basically options right here. And something you can notice is you can see that there are other individuals in the game that have flags. And what this is these are NPCs. So there is a difference between NPCs and bots. Bots, essentially, they're just kind of random. They can't really do much. They're not as efficient. I'm playing on easy mode just to demonstrate all this, so it's really straightforward. And if you play on some of the harder difficulties, NPCs are super buffed. So watch out for that. But bots can't do anything. NPCs are things you can trade with. You can ally with them. So for example, if I click over here and I click on this information button and I go for the middle option here, this very well could change because it's a little scuffed. You can ally people like Belarus. So we'll see if Belarus accepts that alliance. You can see that they did. You see the handshake, you see the indicator in bottom right, and there's various reasons why you might want to do an alliance. So alliances, first off, with NPCs, they won't attack you. They will be your friend. That is good. But the bigger thing is with trade. Trade in this game, I'm not sure to what degree it's going to be important when you're watching this. I kind of have mixed thoughts. It is important, but you can trade with allies. So choosing allies is very important. My understanding when this video is coming out is you can only make alliances with 3 NPCs. So Russia right here is one, Georgia's right here, and we're going to not go for the other one. So in terms of kind of our plan this game, we're going to keep on clicking on bots on regular periods of time, basically just expanding. And you might be thinking, Enzo, how do I know when to attack, when to defend? I think this is something people are still figuring out. The game is shifting a lot, that there's different kind of dynamics that have been tried out with basically attack ratios, right? And my kind of indicator is just thinking, if you look down here at your population, you can see basically how much population you have, your cap, and how much you're gaining. And something you should think about is basically this plus right here. That's kind of an indicator if this number is going up, if it's staying the same. You can think about the kind of returns you're getting. But you also have to think contextually that if someone attacks you around you and they're just sitting on a ton of troops, you might want to not attack as quickly. So when you're thinking about when to attack, you want to check your surroundings. You might want to think about how much is your population growing by? Because your population, it grows based on the amount of land you have, right? So that's generally that. You can see I'm gaining gold too, which is also kind of proportional to your land. And we now got to start thinking about different points in the game. So we're cleaning up our bots. We're probably moving a little too quick. This is easy mode. So it's going to be like a little bit more straightforward than if you're playing in multiplayer, if you're trying to take on impossible. But remember, we're just learning mechanics of the game. So the first thing we're doing is we're just cleaning up these bots. You see Ethiopian Federation, we're going to take that out. One thing you can see in the bottom right, this blue right here, that's just an indication that you've sent out an attack. And you see the red, that means we're being attacked by someone. So Russia is attacking us. So one of the things that you can think about in the game is that you have a build mechanic. So if you right click and you go here, you have a lot of options. And the first thing we're going to build is a defense post. So defense post, it takes a little bit to build apparently on this update. That's how I've understood it. It took a second, now it's defending. Essentially what this does is it defends a small area here. It makes it a little bit more difficult to conquer. So that's something to think about in addition to the different difficulties for conquering, say, plains, right, mountains and such like that. So we're going to keep on taking out these bots. And another thing that you should know when you're starting out is if you press spacebar, be prepared, that you can see basically the terrain here. And you can also see buildings. So you can see over here, Finland has a port, Belarus has a port, Finland has a city right here. And this can be helpful for thinking about what bots do you attack. Because, for example, you can see here, this is a plains bot. It's going to be really easy. But if we look down here in these mountains over here, this Viking Legion, this might not be progressing as fast. There might be a better defense modifier here. It doesn't look like it because we just have so much at this point, but that's something you can think about. So given that we have finally gotten to the ocean, we're going to do an important early game dynamic. We're going to set up a port. There's probably some advanced strategies of thinking about getting like an NPC to build a port because as you can see, like Belarus or Finland has a port and just taking it because these increase in cost basically the more you build. So for example, just for the sake of demonstration, you can see that the first port costs 250K. It costs 500K for the second port. So that's something you got to think about. So essentially with our port, we're going to try to think about if there's anyone we can ally to get trade. So this Norway over here, even though they're really weak and we could probably just dominate the whole game, they have a port, so we're going to see about potentially getting some trade with them. I don't think there's anyone else closer, and that's one of the things you can also think about when you're choosing a spawn. How is trade going to look? What options do I have? If I have access to this sea right here, can I go and trade with, say, Romania down here with a city right in Istanbul? So that's something to think about. So with your play, if you're playing in like multiplayer, you should have probably already cleaned up all your bots. You need to keep moving. You need to use your troops efficiently if you're going to do good in open front. Again, it's all kind of caveated on this whole thing of like, everything's really contextual in these type of territory domination games that there's not always one answer. How I've learned to play Territorial IO, which some of you know about. You probably, if you're watching this, you probably don't know that much about Territorial. But Territorial IO, I've learned by getting a ton of guiding principles and figuring out how to apply them strategically and contextually. In open front, I think it's going to be just like that. The developer is thinking about how do we have this kind of dynamic game and such. So in any case, we're going to keep on expanding. We're basically just trying to use our troops efficiently. And you can see right here, we have a bit of a problem. We cannot attack, Polish Confederacy right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually lower our attack ratio, and we're just going to send over a boat. So you right click, you send over the boat, there it goes. That's it. And the fun thing you can actually do too is you can send boats like around different areas. So even though I don't have a direct line of sight here, I can send a boat, it will go up and it will go around. So that's actually a pretty cool thing of open front. I think there might be a limit on the number of boats you can send out just because when I played this hour-long nuclear war game, which was absolutely crazy, you should definitely check that out. I was trying to send out boats and I kept on getting canceled on it. So sending out boats can be a really good strategy. Say we didn't want to fight Finland and we just want to move around here, try to get some better options. That would be good. One of the things too that I'm wondering is this is the other dynamic. We just got nuked by someone, right? That you saw that was just an atom bomb. So in this game, we'll talk about the nukes in just a second, right after we clean up some other stuff. So in terms of kind of my decision making, I'm gonna build another port. I got a lot of gold. This is easy mode, so things are looking good. And I'm gonna ally this player right here. You can already see I'm sending out trade ships. You can see in the top right, if you scroll over basically what the vehicle is, basically what that is, it'll tell you what's going on. And essentially, just for kind of explanation's sake, we're gonna create a warship. Now, I'm not sure about how all the meta works for these. I don't know if you're really playing Open Front to be like the most competitive out of everyone, but the warships serve a few purposes. One, they can capture enemy trade ships, and I think they fight other warships. There's been some changes. There was a battleship and a destroyer in some kind of weird meta, and well, you can see this. So they're actually, what is that? They're sending out like these attacks right there, and that was actually to take out, I think, Iraq launched an attack on someone else. So they can help defend you, like if you're trying to protect like kind of some island area, right? Say someone like me has the crown and you're hanging out in kind of like a faraway area like Iceland, you could use a bunch of warships to try to protect yourself and also protect your trade. So you can see here, people are launching nukes, and we're starting to get to kind of mid-game dynamics, which hopefully when you're seeing this, the game's moving a little more fast, right? So in terms of kind of my decision at this point, once you've cleaned all your bots, which again, if you're playing multiplayer or one of the kind of tougher difficulties, you're gonna have already wanted to do this. You're gonna wanna start picking off NPCs. And my first decision is I'm gonna go for Russia. They don't have that many troops. They don't look super smart. I'm gonna go for them. You can also see all these people are requesting alliances, which you can reject, you can accept. I think you have a limit, so just keep that in mind. I don't know if that limit applies to players though. It could. And you also see that you can send emojis. If you basically click on the information button and go here, you can send lots of emojis in the game. Lots of these bots like to send clown emojis and stuff like that. So go figure. So as we're kind of understanding, we're clicking, we're also being conscious of our population and kind of our context. So we're gonna take out Georgia too, just because I think it makes sense. And one of the things you can see in the bottom right, when you conquer another country, you get all their gold. So that can be a really, really good strategy for basically trying to get an extra boost. So we're in this kind of mid-game. We're clearly already dominating. You can see how easy mode is. This is kind of like sandbox. And we should start thinking about kind of the other things that you can do in Open Front. So in addition to the defense posts, which we went over at the start, you can also build cities. So if you look in the bottom left at my population cap, you can see when I build a city, I'm at 456. I think it builds it up. They might have changed this a little bit. We're gonna try it one more time. We're at 481. We're gonna build one more city just to see how much this is. This essentially increases your population. So I think it's about 25K. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what it was. So this can be a strategy that I've seen different people use basically just to increase their cap. It's kind of one of the different tech paths you have in the game. That building cities, you get more troops, you basically steamroll people. Maybe you can think of that as a balance with basically the options of nukes, which is the second thing we're going to talk about. So for nukes, the first thing you need to do is build a missile silo. And my thought with this is, one, you got to think about when you want to build this, because a lot of the dynamics in the game, especially in multiplayer, what I've been seeing is people are trying to snipe these. They're trying to basically snipe cities like these two that are close together. So you want to think about when you're going to build this, when you're going to use this. And essentially, just to start off, we'll show you what the atom bomb does. So say we are playing against Finland, and actually we can't stop that. We might actually destroy Finland too quick. So let's go for someone else. So say we are concerned about Sweden and their missile silos. So what we can do is we can target this with an atom bomb. Atom bombs, kind of how I understand they're being framed in the game, and you can see it flying right here over Belarus, over Serbia. They're kind of more strategic in terms of like taking out buildings, maybe taking out ships. That's how I think their role is going to be. So we took that out, you can see that. And this is now a wasteland. So if you see green on the map, that basically means it's irradiated, and it is really, really tough to retake. So I heard someone tell me that it was like 10 times as much, but all these things with numbers, you got to consider the game's going to be shifting a lot. So things might change by the time this video comes out, but still, the small nukes are basically to try to take out buildings, thinking strategically. And now we can show you what the next nukes are. So for these, I'm not sure how their role is going to be, but we have got hydrogen bomb. prior to this balance, these were kind of crazy. Like, they were really, really big and really devastating for troops. This is kind of like how I think about this. I think it's going to be contextual because I think Merv, which we'll talk about in a second, kind of messes things up. But these are to take a big hit out of people. They'll zap someone's troops and they'll take out a ton of land. So just to give you an idea, we're going to go for Serbia here. And you're going to see what this is going to do. So Serbia right now has 15K troops. We're going to send this missile right here. You can see it flying over Belarus. You can see it flying by Ukraine. And this is going to be absolutely devastating to this entire area. So you can see that took out a ton of troops. My kind of old strategy prior to this balance was launching one of these and then launching an attack, right? That basically you take someone out like that, and that's how it works. And we're just going to go straight into Serbia. We'll probably ignore the irradiated zone and stuff like that. The other things that you should think about in the game is essentially one of the dynamics you're probably seeing on screen is you see all these daggers. And you might be thinking, what the hell does that mean? What are the daggers about? The daggers are basically indication that you're a traitor. That essentially you can see over here our alliance with Norway. But the daggers mean that you have betrayed someone. And I actually don't know if it will let you form an alliance with people after you've done betrayal. So I'm trying to ally Turkey here. I am super strong, and I don't know if they said yes. Turkey rejected. So essentially, if you form an alliance, and you can go click over here on the info button, and you go click on the traitor thing, that will break it. And the challenge of that is that other bots or other NPCs, they'll attack you. They won't be friends with you. You can see Finland, their attitude's neutral for me in the top right. That's kind of one of the things you can consider. You can also know that there is a way that you can send people troops, like watch this, for example. So if you go here, you can donate troops like this. It's going to be your attack ratio, so you got to be conscious of this. And I think it's pretty much instant. So essentially, that can be a strategy if you're coordinating with others in the game. I haven't really seen it used that much yet because a lot of people are still figuring stuff out. But you can donate people who are allied with you. And it also apparently increases the relationship you have with people. So you can see friendly. And with that, one of the things you can do with that is that you can have people target others. So for example, I can put this target on Czech Republic, and I don't know if Norway can do this, but I have seen other bots basically attack them. And you can see I'm being attacked by like all these people. I should probably just push back and just end all these people's day because I don't even get it. I'm gonna end Ukraine, I'm gonna end all this. This all makes sense. So I'm going to push down all these people. You see other groups are trying to take this nuclear scarred area. Pretty messed up. And right, so I've made, and one of the other things you got to consider is that alliances end. I don't know if Norway will actually accept this alliance again. It's so funny because they're back on neutral. Yeah, they rejected it. That's because of the traitor thing. So you got to watch out for that. Betraying people can be a bad strategy. It's in basically easy mode. You probably don't have to worry. You can see people sending emojis. They're not happy. Goodbye, Finland. And I got all their gold. So essentially, as the game progresses, you're slowly taking people out. You're thinking about your alliances. Potentially, you're getting trade. During all this time, you probably haven't even seen this. There's been trade ships coming in and out. You can see that I captured some trade ships. I conquered Iraq. And essentially, these kind of ships, that can be a good strategy in a lot of games. So as we're kind of continuing to go, we're approaching Endgame, and if we were playing against some tougher players, not just NPCs, we might have a little bit bigger of a challenge, which kind of brings us to some of the last options we have. I think it actually is the last option at this time, that we've already gone through warships, that you can send those out. Essentially, you just click on where you want those to patrol, right? So I can send one here. You see it spawns out of this port. We can send some boats to try to capture this island, right? And kind of take out these people. That can be kind of annoying in these games. But if you're at Endgame, and you can see I have 21 million, one of the things that basically ends the game as it's designed, it's kind of like the ultimate endgame weapon, is the Merv. The Merv, I can't even remember what it stands for, but it basically sends out a ton of nukes, and it basically goes all over someone else's territory. And this is kind of like almost kill switch. In terms of kind of like metas in games, you can honestly think about these kind of differences between going for economy, like building cities, for example, and trying to build up, maybe building defense posts to kind of defend your area, right? Basically make this harder to take and stuff like that. Or just saving up for a Merv and just trying to ruin people. Some of you who are watching this may have been in like hour-long games with Mervs like me. So just to show you how it works, you go and select your target. We're going to go right here, and we're going to launch the MIRV. I don't know where it's being sent from because I'm sure I've captured someone's missile silo. And we're going to see what it is. I think it's actually going, and it basically takes them out. You can see I won the game. You win, I think, at about 95% of basically what is it called? Not nuclear land, like not this Fallout land, because that's really basically devastating. So that completely devastated Ireland here. Like, Ireland is in pieces. Part of the challenge with the game at this point in time is like, given I've done this, I can't go take out all of Ireland. So if they survived, it's kind of a question of like, what do I do now? So yeah, that's basically Open Front in a nutshell. It's cool, you can play with friends. Like, I think you could also do like team things of like trying to go one team against another. You can take over other countries. It's gonna be a lot tougher than this run through, and you're gonna have to do things quicker than this, but that's the basics of how you play. I might make a multiplayer guide soon because you're thinking about these things all at once, power balance, how do things shape up, and in any case, that's pretty much the video. So if you have any questions, post them in the comments. Maybe other people can help out. And yeah, if you liked it, it was helpful, leave a like, help boost the algorithm. Stay tuned to my channel if you want to subscribe and see more. And I will see y'all in the next one. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.